couple minutes early today. Hello. All right. Hello, everybody. You're coming here at a special night. We've got so much planned. You're gonna be glad you came today, and your price of admission will be well worth it. We've got a proclamation to read. Did you know that today is Older Americans Month? Anybody know that? All right, let's hear it for those older Americans in the room. And we have a public hearing about the Ponzi building. We have a public session. We have all kinds of things going on here. So, like I said, I hope you brought some popcorn. We're going to have a good time tonight. At this time, I'd like to have several people that are here for the Older Americans Month proclamation. Okay. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sarah, you go first. Good evening. I'm Sarah Sunday, Director of the Office for the Aging.
I'm Missy Peel, Senior Case Manager, Office for the Aging.
Jean Lewis, I'm just on the council.
I'm Joanne Gardner, and I'm on the council.
Very good. Welcome to council chambers. As I said in the beginning, this is Older Americans Month. I'm going to read the proclamation. Whereas the city of Oswego includes a growing number of older Americans who contribute their strength, wisdom, and experience to our community, and whereas the communities benefit when people of all ages, abilities, and backgrounds are welcomed, included, and supported, and whereas the city of Oswego recognizes our need to create a community that provides the services and supports older Americans' need to thrive and live independently for as long as possible, and whereas the city of Oswego can work to build an even better community for our older residents by planning programs that encourage independence, ensuring activities are responsive to individual needs and preferences, increasing access to services that support aging in place. Now, therefore, Robert A. Corradino, Mayor of the City of Oswego, I do hereby proclaim May 2024 to be Older Americans Month. I urge every resident to recognize the contributions of our older citizens and help to create an inclusive society and join efforts to support older Americans' choices about how they age in their communities. Round of applause, please. Thank you for your service. Can I have, can you come over and take a picture? How about a picture?
I just want to thank the city, the mayor, the council, on everything that you've done in support of our older citizens and everything that we do. We hope to continue our relationship and create new bridges to services where we can work together to continue to enhance the services to the elderly in the city.
Well, thank you. I know the Office for the Aging is a very important part of our community. I know my mom was there many times, and she had a lot of good to say. So thank you for all you do for us older Americans. So how about a picture? How about if we get two on each side of me? How's that? We'll balance it out. I'll stand in the middle. Okay, it's 7:10, time for the public hearing about the Ponzi building. I have several people signed up to speak about the Ponzi building, and looks like there's 4 people. And if there's anybody else who wants to speak after these four people, certainly raise your hand and we'll let you speak. First one on the list is our city historian, Mark Slozik.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, councilors, for listening to me tonight. I'm the city historian. I'm also trustee of the Heritage Foundation, and I'm here to speak in support of the grant application for the Ponzi building. It's a Restore New York grant for $1.5 million for the Butch Ponzi Recreation Center. The building was constructed in 1904. It's a good example of late 19th, early 20th century architecture that dominated Fort Ontario and many other forts around the United States. This architecture really dominated the fort until the 1950s, when a lot of these buildings were razed. The Ponzi building is really worth preserving. Architecturally, it's a fine example of this kind of structure. It's very sound structurally. It needs to have some work done on it, but as far as I know, it's well worth preserving. It really represents what the fort once looked like, and it completes the outer semicircle of buildings that still remain, starting on the west side and coming down through Safe Haven. The hospital was on the other side of where the Safe Haven building is. That's gone. And then the Ponzi building would anchor those structures that still remained. It's got a long history, really. It served as a post exchange and a gym shortly after it was constructed. It also served the Buffalo soldiers who were stationed there from 1908 to 1911. It served the 369th Harlem Hellcats, an artillery group from Harlem. They trained there during World War I and also up into World War II, and they used that building for classrooms to learn how to use the high-tech guns that they had at the time. There were troops stationed at Fort Ontario until 1944. My father was one of those, and it was available to them during that time period. When the soldiers left in 1944, the refugees stayed until 1946, and they used it for a variety of things, including a gym. It also has a history of being one of the first facilities used for students with special needs in the city of Oswego. It was the home of the Alice E. Mackin School during the 1950s and probably into the early 60s. The city owns the building, and it was run as a recreation center. When I was a teenager and a young adult, I played basketball there. Had many, many good times in that building, including playing pickup ball with one gentleman by the name of Butch Ponzi. I think it's a building that's well worth saving, and I look forward to having the grant application approved. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. I have to apologize. I've only been mayor for less than 5 months, and and this is my first public hearing, so I forgot to call the roll. So at this point, I'd like the city clerk to call the roll for the council.
His Honor the Mayor.
Here.
Councilor Walton.
Here.
Councilor Burge.
Here.
Councilor Benucci.
Here.
Councilor Walker.
Here.
Councilor Gosick.
Here.
Councilor Plunkett.
Here.
Councilor Allen. Here. All present.
Thank you. Now we can continue with the public hearing. Second on the list is Mike McRobey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Mike McCroby. I'm a resident of the 7th Ward, and I'm also here to speak on behalf of the Saving the Ponzi building and the resolutions number 128 and 132 that you as counselors face tonight. One is a feasibility study, I understand, and the other is for the approval of application for the grant. I'm not sure when you counselors were in the Ponzi building last, or if you've been in the Ponzi building, but for me it was about 2 years ago. Butch invited me in to take some pictures about the state of the building and asked me if I would do whatever we could to save the building that bears his name. To be quite honest with you, I was kind of appalled at the condition of the building at that time. Things like, well, squirrels had gnawed their way in through the soffit. Some youth center kids must have lost a foosball game or something because there were holes punched in the wall. Windows were broken. The thing that got to me most was the ceiling in the gym. I spent a lot of time in that gym as a kid because before it was the Ponzi building, it housed the city recreation department offices. And my father was the city recreation director for 30 years. So on Sunday mornings, he would go into the office to do paperwork, and my brother and I would play one-on-one basketball for what seemed like hours. So I have a lot of good personal memories of that building as a kid, and then playing teenage basketball and so on. So the condition of the building bothered me a little bit, in addition to what I started to say, the ceiling in that gym is an old tin ceiling. And to quote old people, they don't make them like that anymore. And the ceiling was falling down, the paint was peeling, and it was bothersome. And after that day, every time I met with Butch for coffee or breakfast, no matter what the conversation started out as, it may have started out talking about the Yankees or softball or something, but it always ended up talking about the building. And that's what he called it. He never called it his building. He just called it the building. And my last conversation with Butch was last May in the hospital. He was on his deathbed, and he kind of knew he wasn't ever going to get out of the hospital. So he basically asked me in whatever platform I could use to help the fight to save the building, whether it be writing an article for the paper or speaking at a public hearing like this. So basically, I'm here tonight to keep my promise to Butch on his deathbed to see if something can be done to save that building. Other speakers may talk about Butch and his passion for the building, and passion is really the best word for it. And Mr. Slozak spoke everything I was going to say about the history of the building, especially the LSE Mackin School, because that was up the stairs and to the right as you go in the building was the LSE Mackin School. My father's office was right across the hall. And these were special needs kids from Oswego who in the 50s and 60s, if you don't know anything about special education in that era, they were shipped elsewhere, usually for their schooling. They didn't have the advantage of sleeping in their home beds at night and going to school in a self-contained classroom in their city. So the LSE Mackin really did serve a major purpose for our school district and our city. So I'm hoping that you support the resolutions before you tonight. Maybe it's just the first steps in preserving the building. I know I can picture it preserved and restored. This morning I took my morning walk around the fort, and I could see those columns out front, refurbished, just brought back to their original 1904 state. And I could almost picture one of those plaques. The Pomeroy Foundation, I think it is, puts those gold and blue plaques out in front of historic buildings, marking the significance of those facilities. And I almost pictured in my mind's eye that somewhere down the road for the Ponzi building. And Butch always ended our conversations with the phrase, "That building is worth saving." And I would agree with that, and I hope you do also. Thank you.
Jody Del Bracco is next on the list.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jody Del Bracco, 148 East Mohawk Street, Oswego. I'm also here to support the restoration and saving of the Anthony J. Butch Ponzi building. Butch was a lifelong friend of my family, and I'm going to echo some of the things that Mr. McCroby said. That building, in his later years, that was his passion. I was there the morning the building was dedicated to Butch, and you want to talk about proud. He spent his retired years when the YMCA had the building. He was there every morning. I mean, if I wanted to see Butch have a cup of coffee, he was down there cleaning up, taking care of things. That building meant everything to him. And, you know, his final years watching it become in the dilapidated state that it is now was heartbreaking. So I urge the council to, you know, pass these two resolutions tonight and anything else that may come to save and restore this building. It meant everything to Butch, and it meant, you know, a lot to, you know, people in the fort. I remember what I see, Mike, is Joe DeMore sitting between those columns on softball night in the fort, smoking his big cigar, waiting to turn the lights on. You know, that was the fort that I grew up in. I put a couple of dents in that tin ceiling myself in the 70s and 80s with my father in there. So whatever we can do to save this building, I urge the council to do so. Thank you.
Lisa Potter.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Lisa Potter, and I live at 26 Brookwood Drive in Scriba. I'm here because Butch was my uncle. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to add my support for this project. As I looked around this room, I think it's safe to say that just about everyone here knew Butch and knew what the recreation building meant to him. As Jody said, and as Mike said, it was his office for many years as the city's recreation director. He was honored to have the building renamed the Anthony J. Butch Ponzi Youth Center. It was Butch's hope when that happened that the teens would use the youth center as a place to have fun with their friends, and was disappointed that the youth center was not well used and the building was not well taken care of. As Jody mentioned, he was there daily cleaning and doing repairs. He spent almost every morning there for years cleaning and making repairs, sorry to be redundant. It's no secret that Butch was devastated when the youth center was closed and the building fell into disrepair. While I know that there is no guarantee that the city will be awarded money from the Restore New York Grant Fund, I appreciate your willingness to submit an application. I'm not sure what the building should be used for if it's able to be repaired, but having Butch's name permanently on the building, rather than a sign out in front, would be a wonderful legacy to a man who gave so much to our community. I'd like to take a minute to thank my old neighbor, Mayor Cordino, for keeping his 2016 promise to Butch to do his very best to save this building. Thank you.
Lisa was the last one on the list. Is there anybody else that would like to speak? Yes, I see a hand up there.
Hi, I'm Dr. Robert Morgan. I just retired after 40 years in practicing medicine here in town, and I knew Butch both professionally and personally. And I am here in favor of restoring this building, but I'm also in favor of doing something to honor this gentleman. If you look up in Webster, volunteer, Butch Ponzi's picture is there. I spent 18 to 19 years redoing and building the youth soccer over by the middle school. Butch was there all hours when I was there. You know, I know what he did for the softball, and I know how upset, terribly upset, when the building started to deteriorate. He just was very, very upset. So I think restoring it to set an example for how we remember and recognize people who volunteer to his level would be shown by getting this grant. And I know he's laughing his head off right now if we get this approved. So I absolutely vote for it. I'm in the 7th Ward, not in the ward there, but I knew Butch very, very well. Okay.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak to this topic during this session? Well, I thought maybe at this point I could share my own thoughts. I think it's allowed, isn't it, City Attorney? I think everybody here pretty much said what I probably would have said if it was just me. Butch was a great man, and you're correct, Dr. Morgan, that if you looked at the definition of volunteer, you would see Butch's picture. He was a quiet, reserved man who wasn't looking for glory. In fact, I think he shunned the spotlight and didn't want his picture taken. I can still picture him wearing those same clothes every day. He was quite a guy. And the building is something that's part of him. Just like the softball fields, I know there are some softball players here in the room, and Butch was at those softball fields every day. Those 6 fields up there, I always told him, I said, these are your 6 children. And he would smile. And really, that's what it was. It was a passion of his. The building was a passion. The softball fields, I mean, the whole city was really his family. And it would be a shame if we didn't follow through and try to do something with his building, especially in his honor. So I made a promise to him when I met him when I first became a counselor in 2016, and I'm intending to do whatever I can. It's in your hands, you 7 counselors, to vote on this. The mayor doesn't get a vote on this, but I've put everything together for you to see and vote on this. We've hired an architect. Well, we hopefully will hire an architect. We've got our grant writers writing the information. We've done the public hearings. The clerk's office has done their part on this. This is a whole team effort here at City Hall. Economic Development, DPW, City Engineer, clerk's office. We're all working hard towards this goal. And it's up to you, 7 guys, to do your part. So I hope you do. So at this point, is there anybody else that would like to say something? If not, we're going to adjourn the public. Oh, one more? No, during this session is only about this. If you have something else, it's during what we call public session, which is next. So if no one has any other things to say about the Ponzi building, then I will adjourn. I will ask for a motion to adjourn. Counselor Walker, Counselor Burge, please call the roll.
Counselor Vanucci.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Gosar. Yes. Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Counselor Allen. Yes. Counselor Walton.
Yes.
Counselor Burge.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
All right, public hearing's over. We turn the page, and now we have public session, which normally begins at 7:15. And I have 4 people signed up. Again, if you haven't signed up, I will ask at the end if you want to speak. We ask, there's some rules here. We ask no profanity, no name calling, no personal attacks, and if you can, please keep it to 5 minutes. First name on the list is George Valentine.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Councilors. Before I get into my notes, if we could give a quick round of applause to Dr. Morgan for his years of taking care of my children and yours. In my remarks, I'm going to be making a bit of a announcement, so if you wouldn't mind, I think you'd enjoy paying attention. It is my privilege to talk to this Common Council again today. As I'd mentioned before, you are the Common Council looking out for the common individuals, not the Business Council, not the Education Council, but the Common Council. And I am proud that we have the opportunity to do the time-honored tradition of being able to speak here to you. Back in March, I got a letter from some place called GAR. I'm sure you got letters yourselves. And all of a sudden, there was an outcry from dozens and dozens of people across the city who contacted you, and in the time-honored tradition of democracy. They got in touch with you, they emailed you, they called you, they met you in a grocery store just to say how anxious and worried they were about what these people from GAR were all about. I emailed each one of you and I said, is the city council powerless to do something, anything about this? Silence. There wasn't even a recognition of that there was an issue, that there was worry and anxiousness by what wound up being thousands of people, all across, of our neighbors all across the county, the elderly, the single mothers, young couples. Silence. Then there was an unprecedented, in my experience in Oswego, of people coming to this microphone, explaining to you aloud, doing the public speaking. Although many people came up here with butterflies in their stomach, they still came up here to say, hey, look, there's syringes in the park down the street. There's the area is being overrun by, well, it's being turning into rental properties. I can't take care of my house like I used to, so it's going down in value, and yet GAR believes that it was 150% of what it was before, or 200%. Still, silence. Not one resolution was brought up by any of the city council. Then we came up with a petition. And by the way, this whole issue is one of the most political issues that you'll ever vote on. One, the budget, who gets the money, and two, who pays the bills. Then we came up with a petition. And instead, we were questioned. The people who came up with the petition, the people who signed the petition were questioned about their intelligence, their morality, and their motivation. And yet still, hundreds of people signed that petition and it was presented. Finally, there was a resolution. Councilman Gosick and Councilman Vanucci presented something so that people understood that they were being heard. There were many arguments against, and I appreciate that, but it was something. People were heard. People had a vehicle that they could push their point across to. In fact, for the first time in my memory as an Oswegonian, after the resolution meeting was passed, after this period was done, not one person left this room. Can you imagine that? People who wanted to listen to the Yankee game stayed. People who wanted to get home to take care of their kids and put them to bed stayed. The vote went down 4-2, and I appreciate that there was the opportunity to do that. But finally, it was a time-honored tradition that that sort of thing could be done. That a council, that the petition, there was another thing that was done, and I'll give credit to the assessor, that in the petition of the people wanting some relief, he put in overtime and he met with people individually. But still, not one resolution, not one solution was brought up here in this area other than the Gosick-Vanucci or Vanucci-Gosick proposal. What I'm here to tell you is that that a number of us are going to begin to do a voter registration drive. We're going to get out there and tell people throughout the area, if they're not registered to vote, we're going to bring the registration to them. We're going to say that at the time when the opportunity presented itself, the councilor from the 1st Ward voted no on the resolution and has presented no new ideas. That the councilor from the 2nd Ward voted no and did not make any further ideas. The councilor from the 4th Ward voted no and did not present any new ideas. The councilor from my own 6th Ward voted no and has not presented any new resolutions or new ideas. And the councilman from the 7th Ward was not able to make it to the meeting, but still has not brought any new ideas. This is not a threat. This is just another way of using the tools in democracy to try to make a point. I appreciate what will happen next. You'll retire to a caucus meeting, and the loudest voices, whether they're elected or not elected, will carry the day in that caucus meeting. But we are Oswegonians. These are our neighbors. Oswego is known well for its creativity, the council's creativity. We didn't have to have Harbor Fest, but we did. We didn't have to have the Macon School at a time before the ARC, the Association for Retarded Citizens, was created, but we did. We are from a tradition of people, why even the Oswego Police Department and their chief have a new way of helping work with folks who are homeless and looking for some way of not breaking the law while trying to survive. Folks, we come from a tradition of people who think hard, are creative, and should come up with some resolution to a problem that we all agree is a problem. We just have to figure out a way to find a solution to it. I wish you all well. I wish you all the opportunity to do right by the people that you represent. We'll put together that voter registration drive, and those folks who we do add to the rolls will be ready to vote next chance they can. We'll also go door to door and talk to people who are registered to vote, and we'll tell them that the counselor from the 1st Ward voted no and has no new ideas. 2nd Ward, same thing. 4th Ward, same thing. 6th Ward, my own 6th Ward. The counselor voted no and has no new resolution or ideas. And the 7th Ward, silence. Take care, folks, and thank you again for the opportunity to speak.
Okay. Next on the list is Mark Chipman.
Sorry for speaking out of role earlier. I'm a toddler when it comes to governmental decorum. My topic is not as lighthearted as the Ponzi building, although an admirable cause. Good evening, council members and Mr. Mayor, and thank you for allowing me to briefly address you. I'm here today to talk about the growing homeless population in our city. I realize homelessness is a topic that generally divides us rather than unites us, and for that reason, I have remained largely silent over the last several years, despite my growing concerns. What brings me here today was an event that occurred last Friday, the 10th of May, when my 3-year-old son and I were leaving the downtown Children's Museum. It was a comfortable spring day, the sun was shining, and we decided to go down to the river to see the boats. Happily, we walked down the Water Street ramp toward the shore, where we found an unkempt, grown man with his pants around his knees, holding onto his penis and urinating into a storm drain. We did not get to see the boats. It was 4 p.m. What might be most disconcerting about my story is that it is not unique. Friends and families have had similar disturbing experiences with this growing disruptive population within our city. And as divided as we may be over homelessness in our communities, I think we can all agree that no father should have to explain to his 3-year-old why a grown man is urinating in a public space that our city has just spent millions renovating and beautifying. Far be it for me to come here with my complaints without offering solutions. And so my solutions are as follows. Mr. Mayor, Common Council members, please make it incredibly uncomfortable to be a homeless vagrant in the city of Oswego. 1, enact new legislation to discourage solicitation and loitering in public, especially after sunset. 2, empower and embolden the Oswego Police Department to enforce the legislation written here. 3, appropriate capital funds to purchase engineering controls to be deployed in parks to limit sheltering and sleeping in publicly accessible areas. Finally, and in my mind, the most important action we must take is to eliminate the root cause. Mr. Mayor and council members, please end all and any future agreements with state, public, and private actors for the purposes of subsidized housing in our cities. The issues we are experiencing today almost exactly coincide with the creation of large-scale subsidized housing. Our last administration accepted short-term monetary gains for long-term cultural losses. Only in hindsight can we see this clearly. We are selling the soul of Oswego one housing unit at a time. With respect, I hope to see this issue on future council and committee agendas. I sincerely appreciate your time and your considerations. It's not lost on me that public service is sometimes a thankless job. But please act with some haste. It takes generations of hardworking, well-meaning people like these folks behind me to create a positive, community-oriented culture. It takes only years to destroy it. Thank you.
Chance Kennedy is up next.
Thank you for letting me speak today, Mr. Mayor and council members. So, sorry. I didn't really have anything prepared. I usually have better things prepared. It's been a busy couple weeks. I wanted to speak on a couple of things. So, the last the last meeting that we had as a common council, there were some issues and things that were brought up. So I did a FOIL request for the city attorney's statement that he made regarding the assessment and everything. And I wanted to go over that just to see if I had missed anything that was said. And so I read it and I did some research. And the Hudson, New York case back in 2019, there was an article that was written by the other Hudson News, I believe, April of 2019, that pretty much stated verbatim what the city attorney had said about the different laws that were being violated, or so to see, and the issues that were the same, similar to here in Oswego. And so I wanted to just address that. Like, there is a process that we have in democracy, and that's how we get things done. And I get that it is utter nonsense, quote unquote, to bring apart that to democracy, and some people might not agree with that, but that's how we get things done and get people to have their voices heard. So I would like to say that I find it extremely disrespectful when people say that it's nonsense for people to have their voices heard. Also, when certain counselors also say things that we shouldn't be hearing public comments, that's also disheartening to hear, because again, you're a public servant. I realize the city attorney is not a public servant, but the counselors are, and the mayor is, and you should listen to everybody, what they have to say, whether you agree with it or not. And so that was my biggest takeaway from the assessment debacle. I think that, like Mr. Valentine has said, getting voters, getting people to register to vote if you haven't voted is definitely a good path forward to making sure that everybody's voices are heard, because a lot of people either aren't registered to vote, don't know how to register to vote, and that's the only way that we really, as the public, can get our voices heard and make a change. So, I mean, if anybody is listening on YouTube or anything like that, you should go to vote.org to do that and see if your registration status. But it is imperative that people just, come to council meetings to see what things are happening, because if you don't agree with something, you should definitely reach out. So I wanted to say thank you for letting me speak today, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
The last person signed up is Christina Cruz.
Hi, good evening. I'm going to set a stopwatch here so I stick to my 5 minutes. My name is Christina Cruz. I'm with the firm DLR Group based in New York City. And for the last 2 years or more, I've been working with the H. Lee White Maritime Museum, looking at whether or not there's a market opportunity here to either build or move into a new building. So and tonight I wanted to come and just give you all an update on where we are with that research. The facts of the current building are that it's from the 1920s. It's a former grain building. It's not ADA compliant. It's not large enough to meet all of the needs of the museum. They're not able to be in there doing programming, educational programming. There are a lot of limitations. So last year we embarked on a market study to see, is there a market opportunity here for the museum to expand or to move elsewhere? And what we found is that the population here is relatively stable, but there are some big investments coming, like the Micron development, that are going to have impacts on population growth. There's tourism here. At the same time, there are not really any purpose-built museums in the region. Most of the museums here are volunteer-led. They're seasonal. They're in historic structures like old schoolhouses. They have permanent exhibitions that aren't rotating. They're pretty stagnant. And we found that there are a lot of really great partnering opportunities here through SUNY Oswego, through NOAA and the hopefully future marine sanctuary designation, through the Port of Oswego. And if there's a way to combine those three entities with the museum, we think there could be something really incredible here. So that was the market assessment. Ultimately, we recommended that, yes, there is an opportunity here for a museum that should accommodate those four partners together, and that the mission of that organization should expand to not just cover the history of Oswego, but also think about ecology and the lake and what it means to have a working port in your backyard. So what we're here doing this week, I'm here today and tomorrow kicking off the business plan. And the business plan is really going to look at what would it take to operate a museum here in Oswego. What would the financials look like? What would the staffing plan look like? All of those things. So I do have a little handout for you all that I will pass out, if that's okay. But I do thank you for your time, and tonight was really just to update all of you on where we are and let you know what's coming in the future. I should say the business plan will take a couple of months to do, and then a building project is likely a few years out. So this isn't a tomorrow thing, but it is someday down the road. It is a someday down the road thing. So thank you.
The clerk will get it from you,
Oh, perfect.
pass it out for you. You still have time left if you want to say something. You did it in less than 5 minutes.
I did.
Yes.
My practice paid off. I'm happy to answer questions if you have them. I will say I have a lot of optimism about this project here in Oswego. I think what we're envisioning is truly a community space. It's something that's accessible to people throughout the day, throughout the year, to visitors and residents alike. And I think it could be really additive to this community. The space that the museum is in now has a great waterfront location, but it is truly limiting the things that they can do from a programming perspective, from an educational perspective, from a growth perspective. So I've worked on hundreds of studies like this across the country, and if I've ever believed in a project more, I think I'd be lying if I said that. I really do believe in this project and the possibility that's here. So thank you again. And I'm happy, if you do have questions, I don't think my contact information's on that, but you can reach out to the museum and they know where to find me. Thank you.
As I said, that's the last person that was signed up. Is there anybody else that wanted to speak tonight? Seeing nobody else, then we will close out the public session. And call the order. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please call the roll.
His Honor the Mayor.
Here.
Counselor Walton.
Here.
Counselor Burridge.
Here.
Counselor Benucci.
Here.
Counselor Walker.
Here.
Counselor Gosick.
Here.
Counselor Plunkett.
Here.
Counselor Allen.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. I just have a couple of quick items under the mayor's report. The first item, I'd like to report that every year for the past 3 years, we've done a code blitz in the first ward primarily, but throughout the city during graduation weekend for the college. Before we instituted this code blitz, you would find all kinds of furniture and garbage and trash on people's lawns and in front of their houses. The And it was primarily because college students were leaving after graduation, and they didn't have enough room in their car. So you would find all sorts of things, couches, tables, chairs, and bags of garbage. So again, for the last 3 years, the Codes Department has been addressing those. This year, I did get a report from our Codes Director, Mike Cleary. He said this year went very well. There was very little rubbish was put out to the street. They dealt with 25 complaints throughout the weekend, which is probably the lowest number they've ever had, and received compliance on everything at a reasonable time. They've got it down to a science where if there's an issue in front of a property, they'll call the property owner or the management company and ask them to address it that day, like Saturday or Sunday. And again, according to the Codes Department, those issues were resolved. So I'd like to thank the staff of the Codes Department for their extra efforts. They were out there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, driving around trying to make sure that our streets in our community were pristine. So again, thank you to the Codes Department. We already had our little presentation for May is Older Americans Month, so don't forget that. And another thing, I don't know if you've noticed, some of the people who haven't been here in a while, we have some displays up. This was part of the City Relationships Committee, Campus City Relationships Committee, which was a group that was started several years ago to improve the relationship and enhance the ability for the city and the college to work cooperatively. So on May 1st, Wednesday, May 1st, we had a ceremony to highlight the program. We had several college professors here who initiated that and worked with the students. We had President Woso from the college who was here also, and there was even some snacks for those people who wanted some beverages, some water and some cookies and things like that. So I want to thank the college for their efforts in producing that. I also want to thank the following counselors, Counselor Plunkett, Walton, and Vanucci for attending. It's important to show your support for initiatives like this, and I appreciate all your efforts in making that event. The last item on my list is there's a blood drive this Friday, May 7th at the McRobey Building from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. This is an annual event put on by Assembly Minority Leader Will Barkley with a little help from the mayor, me. Your participation can make a significant impact on the community's health and well-being, and I hope you can enjoy us. You can join us, and I plan to be there around 1:30 in case anybody wants to see me get blood drawn. 17th, thank you very much. You just earned your pay for the week. May 17th, this Friday. Are there any counselors that had anything to say? Yes, Counselor Gozick.
Yeah, I just would like to give thanks to all the good citizens of Oswego over the last 3 months that have come to our common council meetings to speak at public session, to speak at the question and answer sessions. I tip my hat to them. They really restore my faith in democracy, at least at the local level anyway. And I want to let them know that their efforts weren't in vain. We appreciate the hundreds and hundreds of people, almost 1,000 people that signed the petition calling for the local government, our local government here, to put a pause on this flawed revaluation that was done by Gar Associates. And, I'll answer your question, Mr. Valentine. Is the city council powerless? Here's what I have to say to you. I know a lot of people are probably disheartened, and we did everything we could within our ability. Lacking, legal counsel. The city council doesn't have its own legal services. The reality is, yes, our resolution was shot down, and even though our resolution to rescind failed, and I'd ask everyone to remember that date. It's a memorable date. It wasn't just Earth Day, but it was 4/22/24, and the vote was 2-4. Okay, it's important to remember. The resolution was deemed illegal and voted down. But I'm going to tell you what, George. No, the city council isn't powerless. As a matter of fact, the tax roll, the official tax roll, it isn't made official until the council votes on it. That vote will be coming up before July 1st. I don't believe the date is set yet. But the council has the power to vote down the tax roll. In that case, I have checked with former city assessors. As a matter of fact, what would happen is we'd revert back to the 2023 tax roll. The battle and the fight's not over for this. We don't have to approve it, okay? And that's legal. I just want to make sure everyone knows that is the legal way to put the brakes on this and to rescind, effectively rescind the erroneous, flawed revaluation done by Gar Associates that the city has seemed to want to support and cram down our throats. Therefore, I call on the citizens of Oswego who are opposed to the reassessment to contact their councilors and the mayor to encourage them, their elected representatives that they voted into office, to vote no on approving the 2024 tax roll and to attend the council meetings in June. Come out in force. We need you all here. We need every single person that spoke over the last 3 months, and we need everybody that came and didn't speak. And we need people I'm hearing from right now. I'm still getting calls. Every work order I get when I answer the phone, they say, well, why I got you on the phone? And I would have thought it was March 5th, on the first day they opened their letters, people that never came to a meeting, they weren't able to talk to me and tell me that they weren't going to be able to afford this because of the county taxes going up, because of the school district taxes. And I understand the argument on the other side. I seen the mayor was in the Syracuse paper the other day defending the 24%, and I respect that. I lost my cool last time a little bit, and I apologize for the fact that I didn't conduct myself with utter decorum. But the political theater I saw play out here the other night as the city council was, I felt unduly influenced by a 6-page speech by the city attorney. I felt, once in a while, polite civility has to give way to righteous indignation, and I believe that was one of those occasions. Okay, the eruption's over, lava's cooling now, but I would call on all those citizens again, and I will call on you again in the next meeting when I have the opportunity to. And then finally, the last thing I had was a question. Probably not a lot of people saw this, but there was an interview done on April 25th. And that was the day after the council meeting, not even 24 hours after the council meeting. And as it turns out, let me just turn back at a couple notes here. As it turns out, in this interview with the Oswegonian, I was interviewed and so was the mayor. And I just want to make sure I have it right, and I have it right here on my phone. In that, I just wanted to ask a question, and I don't know if it's going to be answered here tonight, but I basically had 2 questions that I'd like to present to you what appeared in that story, because I'm assuming not many people take time to read the Oswegonian. I got to be honest. I didn't even remember it until afterward, and somebody sent me the article, and I thought it was interesting. Maybe it's because of the youthful idealism of a young reporter at the college. I felt was done very objectively. Looking at the local newspaper, we support the local newspaper, right? We have to vote them in. The Palladian Times, one of the probably oldest local papers in the country, and today, in this day and age, we're finding news deserts everywhere. You can listen to the radio. I just heard a big special on National Public Radio, and they talked about how local newspapers drying up. Thank goodness we have our local paper. But at times, there's still influence behind the scenes, and I think a lot of what was mischaracterized, like, for instance, if I may, with all due respect, my mother was Sicilian, full-blooded, okay? Where do you think I got this nose from, right? I was mischaracterized as attacking Mayor Cordino's Italian heritage. No, I was referring to authoritarianism in the early 20th century that characterized Italian governments, and I won't mention any names or any isms, but that was the point I was making. I wasn't attacking anybody's ethnic background, especially being half Italian. Secondly, there was one other mischaracterization I'd like to clear up, and what that was the fact that I'd mentioned how legislative agenda has been, the mayor in Oswego, if you look at the charter, has a lot of power, okay? Power is concentrated, more so in many other localities and municipalities. One of the things was with all due respect to Mayor Barlow, I had no intention of attacking him when I mentioned that he had also controlled the legislative agenda. But you gotta remember, as my father said and many others, and I teach government, okay, and I've served on the city council here for 10 years. The legislative branch of government is separate and it's co-equal, and there's a reason why. That's what makes it a republic. That's what makes us a free society, and that's why we have that. That's one of the most cherished institutions we have. That's what makes America what it is, our Republican institutions. So I wanted to point out that I was no means attacking Mayor Barlow. As a matter of fact, I would praise him. I encouraged him. I thought he should have run for Congress. Okay, that's how much I was impressed by the man. But again, perhaps we gave him a special dispensation because he was youthful, because he inspired people so much. And, that's just as much my fault as anybody's fault. But the last thing I wanted to point out was what was in this article, okay? Because I believe this article here was much more objective than what we saw in the local papers, even though I thought they did a good job. And in this article, I thought it was really interesting that the next day, the reporter had written that, here it is, that the mayor told the reporter that at the college that the council was misinformed by the former city assessor. And I know this was alluded to. Mrs. Teresi was characterized as being inexperienced at the last council meeting. But I looked into it, and what I found out was Ms. Teresi had actually served for 2 years in the city clerk's office. Prior to becoming the full assessor, she met all the minimum qualifications. As far as I know, she was licensed by New York State. So I don't understand where the issue of inexperience comes from. And also, my question is why the mayor wasn't forthcoming with the information that the council was misinformed. We're talking about June 2022. I mean, if I voted on this, and if you weren't here, you can watch it on the video. It's on YouTube from that date, from June 2022. But she explicitly stated, and I pointed out last time, that the Common Council didn't need to approve the reassessment, okay, the revaluation of the numbers put forth by Gar Associates. And it's going back to George's question, are we powerless? That was all of us, every counselor here was told the same thing. And as far as I know, Ms. Teresi was competent, she was experienced, and she was licensed. So I feel in some ways she's become some sort of fall guy for, I don't know what exactly is behind this. But the reality is, I would like to know, one, why the mayor and the city attorney weren't forthcoming with this information at the last meeting, unless it was a revelation or an epiphany that appeared within that night. And number two, how long did they know this information that the council didn't know? Because it was news to me, and I know it wasn't brought up that night, even though the assessor was referred to as inexperienced, saying that the council was misinformed. And finally, if it is answered, I would defer to our city attorney to hear his unbiased legal opinion on whether or not that would nullify the initial vote in the first place if the council voted on false pretenses. And that's all I have to say tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Gozick. Anybody else want to speak from the council? Seeing none, can you please call Resolution 123?
Approved minutes, common council meeting held April 22nd, 2024.
Councilor Walton, Councilor Vanucci. Any comments? Please call the roll.
Councilor Vanucci.
Yes.
Councilor Walker.
Yes.
Councilor Gosick.
Yes.
Councilor Plunkett.
Yes.
Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Councilor Walton.
Yes.
Councilor Burge.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Please call Resolution 124.
Appoint Commissioner of Deeds.
Councilor Plunkett, Councilor Burge. Any comments? Please call the roll.
Councilor Vanucci.
Yes.
Councilor Walker.
Yes.
Councilor Gosick.
Yes.
Councilor Plunkett.
Yes.
Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Councilor Walton.
Yes.
Councilor Burge.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Please call Resolution 125.
Approve use of public space, H. Lee White Maritime Museum in order to host Paddle Fest on Saturday, July 13th, 2024.
Councilor Allen, Councilor Walton. Any comments? Please call the roll.
Councilor Vanucci.
Yes.
Councilor Walker.
Yes.
Councilor Gosick.
Yes.
Councilor Plunkett.
Yes.
Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Councilor Walton.
Yes.
Councilor Burge.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Please call Resolution 126.
Approve use of public space, Oswego Federal Credit Union, in order to host Movies in the Park to be held on June 26, 2024 in Washington Square Park.
Councilor Burge, Councilor Plunkett. Any comments? Please call the roll.
Councilor Vanucci.
Yes.
Councilor Walker.
Yes.
Councilor Gosick.
Yes.
Councilor Plunkett.
Yes.
Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Councilor Walton.
Yes.
Councilor Burge.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Please call Resolution 127.
Approve use of public space, Gina Holsapple of Gina Marie Music Studio to host a recital on Sunday, June 2nd, 2024 at Veteran Stage.
Councilor Walton, Councilor Vanucci. Any comments? Please call the roll.
Councilor Vanucci.
Yes.
Councilor Walker.
Yes.
Councilor Gosick.
Yes.
Councilor Plunkett.
Yes.
Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Councilor Walton.
Yes.
Councilor Burge.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Please call Resolution 128.
Authorize mayor to execute any and all documents regarding the submission of a Restore New York grant for the Ponzi Recreation Building.
Councilor Burge, Councilor Walker. Any comments? Please call the roll.
Councilor Vanucci.
Yes.
Councilor Walker.
Yes.
Councilor Gosick.
Yes.
Councilor Plunkett.
Yes.
Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Councilor Walton.
Yes.
Councilor Burge.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Please call Resolution 129.
Accept donation of a memorial plaque from Kathy Walker in memory of Thomas Beeshers to be located at the Wrights Landing Pavilion.
Councilor Walton, Councilor Gozick. comments? Please call the roll.
Counselor Benucci?
Yes.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Gosick?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Counselor Allen?
Yes.
Counselor Walton?
Yes.
Counselor Burridge?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Please call Resolution 130.
Accept donation of a bench from Patty Timon in memory of Norma de Ambra to be located along the West Linear Park.
Counselor Plunkett, Counselor Allen, any comments? Please call the roll.
Counselor Benucci?
Yes.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Gosick?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Counselor Allen?
Yes.
Counselor Walton?
Yes.
Counselor Burridge?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Call Resolution 131.
Accept grant award in the amount of $15,000 from the New York State Energy Research and Development Clean Energy Communities Program to aid in the purchase of a 4-seater electric golf cart.
Counselor Walker, Counselor Venucci. Any comments? Please call the roll.
Counselor Benucci?
Yes.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Gosick?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Counselor Allen?
Yes.
Counselor Walton?
Yes.
Counselor Burridge?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Call Resolution 132.
Authorize mayor to sign a professional services agreement with MCWB Architects in the amount of $67,380 for a feasibility study of the Ponzi Recreation Center renovation project.
Counselor Burridge, Counselor Walton. Any comments? Please call the roll.
Counselor Benucci?
Yes.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Gosick?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Counselor Allen?
Yes.
Counselor Walton?
Yes.
Counselor Burridge?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Call Resolution 133.
Authorize mayor to sign amendment number 5 with LaBella Associates DPC for the Conway Municipal Center roof and facade project, and further authorize the city chamberlain to complete a budget amendment to the engineering contracted services account in the amount of $8,565.32 for same.
Counselor Burridge, Counselor Gosick. Any comments? Please call the roll.
Counselor Benucci?
Yes.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Gosick?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Counselor Allen?
Yes.
Counselor Walton?
Yes.
Counselor Burridge?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Call Resolution 134.
Authorize mayor to sign supplemental request number 1 with JMT of New York in the amount of $305,000 for work associated with the Riverwalk West Bridge Street to West Utica Street project.
Counselor Venucci, Counselor Walker. Any comments? Please call the roll.
Counselor Benucci?
Yes.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Gosick?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Counselor Allen?
Yes.
Counselor Walton?
Yes.
Counselor Burridge?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Call Resolution 135.
Approve bid submitted by Pack and Associates of Oswego Incorporated for general construction of the Conway Municipal Center roof and facade project.
Counselor Plunkett, Counselor Allen. Any comments? Please call the roll.
Counselor Benucci?
Yes.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Gosick?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Counselor Allen?
Yes.
Counselor Walton?
Yes.
Counselor Burridge?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Please call Resolution 136.
Authorize city chamberlain to complete a transfer of funds from the general fund contingent account to the tourism contracted services account in the amount of $7,365 for an invoice related to the 2024 Eclipse event.
Counselor Burridge, Counselor Venucci. Any comments? Please call the roll.
Counselor Benucci?
Yes.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Gosick?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Counselor Allen?
Yes.
Counselor Walton?
Yes.
Counselor Burridge?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Please call Resolution 137.
Approve the advertisement of sealed bids for properties located in the city of Oswego.
Counselor Allen, Counselor Walton. Any comments? Please call the roll.
Counselor Benucci?
Yes.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Gosick?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Counselor Allen?
Yes.
Counselor Walton?
Yes.
Counselor Burridge?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
That was the last item. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Counselor Allen, Counselor Burridge. Call the roll.
Counselor Benucci?
Yes.
Counselor Walker?
Yes.
Counselor Gosick?
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett?
Yes.
Counselor Allen?
Yes.
Counselor Walton?
Yes.
Counselor Burridge?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Thank you, everyone.